Today I'll be explaining on symbolic interaction. What is symbolic interaction? Symbolic interaction focuses on everyday life between people. The key founders behind this theory include George Herbert Mead and Herbert Blumer. Unlike the two other perspectives, this one focuses on micro level, meaning face-to-face communication. Some ideas are people create meaning through interactions, society is socially constructed, symbols like language, gesture, shape how we understand reality. Our sense of self develops through interaction. For example, if someone is labeled as smart, they may begin to act according to that label. Symbolic interaction explains how identity, communication, social rules are formed in everyday life.
My part of this presentation is on structural functionalism. Structural functionalism is a way sociologists understand society as a system made up of different parts. Each part of society has a role or function that helps society work. When one part changes or stops working properly, it affects the whole system. How it views society. This perspective focuses on order and stability in society. It looks at social institutions like family, education, religion, government, and the economy. Structural functionalists believe that these institutions work together to keep society running smoothly. For example, schools don't just teach academic subjects, they also teach social rules and behavior. Key sociologists. One of the main founders of this perspective is Emil Durkheim. He believes society is held together by shared norms and values that guide our behavior. Another important sociologist is Talcott Parsons. He explained that society naturally works to maintain balance and stability. Robert K. Martin expanded this idea by explaining that social institutions can have intended effects called manifest functions and unintended effects called latent functions. Why is it important? Structural functionalism helps us understand how society stays organized. It shows how social structures influence human behavior. This perspective explains how different parts of society work together and maintain order.
Today we'll talk about social conflict. Social conflict happens when people or groups fight over resources, power, or rights. It is important because it shows how society is unequal and why some groups have more control than others. Sociologists use perspective or way to look at society to understand social conflicts. A paradigm is a lens that helps explain why conflicts happen and how it affects people. Paradigms are important because they help us study patterns, problems, and changes in society, not just random facts. How social conflicts is viewed. The main idea of social conflict is about inequality, competition, and power struggles. It happens between rich and poor, powerful and weak, or groups with different interests. The principles and concepts. Conflict is natural in society. It can cause change when groups challenge unfair systems. Power and resources are often unevenly shared. Its importance. Understanding social conflicts help us see who has power, who is affected, and how society changes. Key founders and contributions. Karl Marx. Karl Marx explains how conflict comes from class inequality and how it drives social challenge. Max Weber added that conflicts can come from status and power, not just wealth. Social conflict is a way to understand struggles in society. It shows inequality, power differences, and the causes of social change. Studying social conflict helps us see why society isn't always fair and what we can do to make it better.